You know, I'm a voter. Aren't you supposed to lie to me and kiss my butt?
Welcome back to the Backwards History Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Will, here with my co-host, Kevin. Say hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Shut up, Kevin.
Hey, you can't talk to me like that. I'm the host-elect.
Host-elect? Who told you were the host-elect?
The various media outsources.
Wait. Media decides who wins things?
They do, and they tell me what I want to hear.
Oh. It does happen that way when you hear what you want to hear.
When you hear what you want to hear, you'll back that horse every day.
And hopefully what you want to hear is your favorite podcasters finally putting out an episode after almost an entire month without an episode.
Whoops.
Yeah, we're a couple of screw-ups. We've had 2 very bad episodes. One that we just weren't happy with, and the last one we tried to record.
We were very happy with it.
We were ecstatic with it and found out in post-production that we had recorded every bit of it on the laptop microphone and not the Yeti.
That was heartbreaking.
It was terrible because it was a great episode. But we also don't believe in trying to recapture an episode because we don't feel like it's going to pan out. So we'll retry that subject again later. I won't spoil it.
It's a surprise.
Right. But it was unsalvageable, so we're sorry. We have been a little lax. We've been bums. Kevin's been digging, playing in dirt. And I've had a lot of stuff going on that we'll let you in on later when it's a done deal.
Our career paths are diverging a bit.
Well, yeah, but we found a very viable remote recording solution.
Oh, I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, if Kevin decides to, not try and record on a potato, we'll be good to go.
Is that an Irish joke?
It could be. But as usual, we want you to go do those social media thingy things. Go like, share, subscribe. Tell everybody you know about these 2 great libertarian podcasters that don't give a crap about blue or red. We just give a crap about our constitutional rights for the most part. Mm-hmm. But also, don't forget to go help us out. Go to teespring.com/stores/backwards-history-store. Go pick you up a hoodie. It's getting cold. Go pick you up a Shut Up Kevin mask so that everybody knows who you want to really shut up. We even got a Shut Up Kevin fanny pack for those of you who still use fanny packs.
They're making a comeback.
Right. But yeah, if you go check that out, you can help us out. We can get you some better content if we get a little bit of funds.
Just a little bit of fundage.
Right. We're not begging, but hey.
Maybe a little.
You gotta ask. Right. Closed mouth don't get fed, right?
There you go.
So, as I assume, you can probably guess what direction we're going with this one.
I hope so.
We figured we hadn't been around in a while. We might as well do something that's very presently viable and relevant. It's no secret that this election of 2020, the hellacious year, which we probably should have all seen coming, was going to be a bit of a shit show.
I'm not in the least bit surprised.
No, not at all. So, let me preface everything that I'm going to say for the rest of this episode, which, if you're a longtime listener, you're not going to be surprised by this. There is no such thing as the office of the president-elect.
Even though they have a very official-looking banner.
Right. I can go down to Office Depot and get them to print me one. Wait, Office Depot closed. But I can go down to a store and get them to print me a banner that looks very official, and I can call myself the Grand Poobah elect, and I'm still not the Grand Poobah, okay? The election is not over until the Electoral College votes on the 6th of December. It does not matter how the popular vote goes.
No, it's quite irrelevant.
And that's been the point of contention in several elections, most notably, I think it was Bush's second term. Baby Bush. Did not win the popular vote,
no,
but won the electoral vote.
You do see a trend of Republican candidates typically not winning the popular vote.
And usually that's because of population densities in the blue leaning areas.
Exactly. It's just the numbers get skewed a certain way.
Right. But this election is a special case because it seems that the national news media has turned to trying to decide things for the people. And it's almost to the point of inciting riots with, oh, the election turned out this way, even though we cannot call it this way. And we already know that per the Constitution, it's not done.
Right. It's a very well laid out path that it has to be taken in order to have official results declared.
The 12th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution plainly lays out how elections are to be held. And it's so irritating to constantly hear people saying, oh, it undermines our democracy. This is not how democracy works. Well, yeah, we're not a democracy, so we're not supposed to operate how democracy works.
Right.
In a democracy, sure, popular vote would rule the day.
Mob rule.
It's mob rule. That's exactly what I was about to say. We live in, say it with me, folks. Repeat after me. Constitutional representative republic. Constitutional representative republic. We don't live in a democracy. And anybody who tells you any differently is essentially
Wrong.
Well, wrong, but anti-U.S. Constitution, because per the Constitution, we are a republic.
Well, we do have democratic processes,
Right.
but not a democracy in the true sense of the word.
But the biggest, the most overused phrase in the media right now is a threat to our democracy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, threaten our democracy all you want. You can threaten our democracy all day long, and I'll sit back and watch, because we are not a democracy. So threaten it, because it can go away, you know. But they act like this is a new thing. They act like this election all of a sudden is playing by different rules, like Donald Trump is doing something wrong by challenging the results. It's within his rights to do so. It's not within Joe Biden's rights to assume a position that he has not been rightfully appointed to yet. Per the Constitution, he is not the president-elect until the Electoral College meets on December 6th and votes.
Exactly.
So, any transition that happens before that is illegal, really, because he's not supposed to have any control or any say in our processes other than his pre-standing title.
Right. And that doesn't, like, he's getting his transition team ready. That's being preemptive. Like, many people think it's a bit too early to be trying to. He's running with the, what the media says. He's the winner. But for people who think he all of a sudden has some kind of authority, some kind of power, he doesn't. It's an empty title.
And even if he was the president-elect even if he becomes the president-elect post December 6th, he still has no power.
Right.
Until noon on the 20th of January.
When he's sworn in.
And at that point, yes, he becomes the commander-in-chief.
But only until that point.
Only at that point.
Up until then, it's an empty title.
Essentially, he only has the rights and privileges of the title previously. Now, he might have more protection, or he definitely will have more protection, because I think once you become the president-elect officially, Secret Service...
Yeah, you're assigned.
You're assigned Secret Service.
Well, I think he'd have some still because of being VP. He'd have some kind of ties, I think.
Yeah, he probably already... I'm saying if he wasn't already if he was a Joe Nobody.
Right.
And he became president-elect, he would then have Secret Service covering him because he is important.
Right.
but to the next presidential process.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't a new thing.
No.
I mean, our country's been around a long time. People act like, oh, well, this is new. This is unprecedented. Da, 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 da. No, we've had contentious elections previously. We've had...
You just have short memories.
Well, you can't remember what you were never told.
Or didn't learn.
Or didn't learn. But, we already have our issues with the American education system.
So many.
But luckily, here at the Backwards History Podcast, we have this individual who was appointed by the media to be the host, but we all know I'm the host. That is our resident historian who might know a thing or two about this.
And I am in studio today.
Right. Finally. Even though the studio might be moving, that's a hint.
Yeah. Tune in next time, folks.
Hopefully not next time. That'd be too quick. But I'm going to let Kevin take it away. Tell us about the historical implications of what we see today.
Thank you, William. Yeah, all over the news you're getting, this is unprecedented. This has never happened before. This is, where do we go from here? What do we do? And, Will and I, we were around for the 2000 election. We, remember the whole Florida debacle, and, Gore conceded, then he didn't concede, then he conceded again. And
granted, we were both children at this point, so we had a loose understanding of what was going on. I probably had a better understanding than most of my, I would say, colleagues, but that generally... Peers, there we go. I would say I had a better understanding than my peers, but that's because I was interested in that kind of stuff.
Right. Now, the 2000 election followed the legal guidelines set out when you're trying to, confirm election results. It was just a media sensational storm, or whatever you want to call it. People just talk about it day after day. Very similar to what we're currently going through. But if you go back to the 1824 election, that's when things got really, really dirty. You have Andrew Jackson. If you need to know anything about Andrew Jackson's character, just know he was reported to have been in over 100 duels in his lifetime, fighting for his honor or the honor of his wife. 100 times he went to, essentially shoot at another dude. But anyway.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Exactly. Now, the story of the 1824 election is very complicated. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's a good bit of hearsay and, conjecture. But the high points are, you have multiple candidates who won electoral votes, but none of them got the majority needed to claim victory. Sound familiar?
Right.
So you have Andrew Jackson. It comes down to him and John Quincy Adams. They're the two guys. It's going to come down to one of these two. Well, you have some misinterpretations by people who are, working behind the scenes, because it goes to the House to determine who's the next president is going to be. Anyway, Andrew Jackson ends up feeling like he got robbed. Sound familiar? So he immediately begins his next election campaign right when the dude takes office. John Quincy Adams takes office. He's already got somebody running against him for re-election. Now, back in the day, there weren't a whole lot of ethics when it comes to journalism.
You mean there's ethics today?
We'll get back to that. You had what were known as political machines, with newspapers being the medium of the day. You don't have radio, you don't have TV, you don't have social media. You really only have newspapers. And what they would do, these political machines would get a lot of money from various sources, and they would buy newspapers and literally print whatever they wanted. straight, verifiable lies. And these were horrible accusations against their opponents. Truly horrendous things they would talk about about each other. And the journalists would eat it up. It was what they refer to as yellow journalism. It's sensational. It's your early form of clickbait. They would basically, you got a catchy headline. Oh, I need to buy that paper and read this story.
Bear in mind, at this point in time, the term yellow generally was synonymous with cowardice or being just a crap person.
Right.
So
they would have this catchy headline, and you go and buy the paper and you read it. It was all lies, essentially. So you can definitely see parallels between that and today, when you have various news companies that are skewed left or right. There's really not one side doing it, one side not. It's both sides.
And then some change depending on who owns the company.
Right. Who's signing that paycheck?
Right.
Who's keeping the lights on? And so you're starting to see parallels. It's certainly, today is a whole lot more tamer than it used to be. That doesn't make it any less wrong. It's just one of those things where it's very manipulative.
Well, the things that the media can't say on their news networks can now be said through memes and social media posts.
I had a college professor of political science. He had a diagram. You have the government on one end, you have the people on the other, and in the middle, you have the media, which is the gatekeeper. They control the flow of information going both ways. And that can be very dangerous when you control what people hear and influence what they think.
That kind of points back to several previous episodes of ours that we've mentioned. Operation Mockingbird. If you're a new listener, or even if you're a long-standing listener, I encourage you, please just go to Google, even though I don't trust Google, but you'll still get the same thing. Go to duckduckgo.com and search Operation Mockingbird, and you'll see what we're talking about. I encourage you, please look it up, and then you can see your media, whatever brand you choose to follow. You see where it's come from.
Whichever one you think has all the answers.
I'll give you a hint. None of them.
Spoiler alert.
Right. It's no secret here at the Backwards History Podcast that there is definitely no love lost between Kevin and I and the national news media. We've done several episodes on media manipulation, and I guess technically this one may be another one.
There'll probably be several more after this as well.
But I feel like this one's more election manipulation.
Fair point.
Because the media, after the election was called by the AP for Biden, obviously, Trump said, okay, there's been some irregularities, there's been some election fraud, some voter fraud, and literally every news organization within the United States has said unfounded claims. Like, they all have these taglines of unfounded claims or false claims or blah, blah, blah. That was immediately after it was said. So how can they be ruled as false or unfounded when they have yet to be investigated? You can't have it both ways. They could be, they're just claims at that point. They're neither false or true because no one's investigated.
Accusations.
Exactly. They're just accusations. So that right there on its face is deliberately misleading because it's basically giving a conclusion before a conclusion has even been pursued. My thing isn't necessarily that I want one or the other to win. Granted, I do have my preference, and that's fair. I have that right to have my preference.
Very fair.
But I have my preference based on certain things.
Yeah.
I'll get to those in a minute. My concern is most people are taking that as a partisan issue.
Right.
But it's not. It's absolutely beyond partisan. It should be for every American citizen. The potential for voter fraud or election fraud should be very concerning, no matter which side of the aisle you sit on.
Right.
Because if this election could be slanted one way or the other, whether it's for the better of the people or not, that threatens the rest of our elections or the previous elections. It shows a problem. And the problem is the diminishment of our right as the people to govern our government. If we are to be a country that has a government of, for, and by the people, election fraud is a very serious thing for the people. It doesn't matter which candidate it leans towards.
Right.
It threatens our power. And our power is the most important, not who sits at the head of the table.
Right. So who put them there?
Exactly.
Put them there.
If the will of the people is not served, regardless of which side, it's a problem. I want it investigated, because if this election can be affected, then all future elections are affected. Right. Potentially. And that's very concerning. Very, very concerning.
Quite alarming.
Now, granted, this is also no secret. I'm very, very pro 2A. How pro 2A? I believe I should be able to park an F-16 in my backyard pro 2A, okay?
I would like to see you try, just logistics.
I'm trying my hardest not to quote the Second Amendment for the 100th time on this podcast. Right. Shall not be infringed. Very, 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 very clearly, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, regardless of what the militia does.
Rather clear language.
Why would you have a Bill of Rights if you're giving the government the right to have something? Because people like to split hairs over a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. They like to split the hair and saying militia is the National Guard or whatever. Why would you need an amendment in the Bill of Rights to give the government the right to have something? The National Guard is the government. They're feds. At least every bit of their equipment is federally owned equipment. Joe Biden and his team are very, very anti-Second Amendment. That if Joey had his way, we'd all be defending our homes with, double-barrel shotguns and single-action revolvers. And I'm not okay with that. Mainly because that right in and of itself is the right that protects the rest of them. There's a reason that 1 and 2 are 1 and 2. You have the right to speak and tell people what you see and what you think. And then you have the right to own what you need to defend that right. Without the First and Second Amendment, you have no hope of defending the rest. None. And that's how I feel about it. And anyone who says that, I'm pro-Second Amendment, but I voted for Joe Biden, you're not pro-Second Amendment. I'm sorry. You're not.
As pro as you thought anyway.
You're not. You can't be pro-Second Amendment and vote for a guy who has been very open with the fact that he is not. He wrote the 94, or at least co-wrote, co-authored, co-signed, whatever, the 94 crime bill and the 94 assault weapons ban. That sunset because it didn't have any positive effects. And wants to have another ban without a sunset clause. But there's been actual pretty decent evidence of some voter fraud or election fraud, or at least some concerning issues with the software used in the voting machines.
There have been accusations towards that.
I mean, well, not accusations, like legit, like proof that some screwy stuff happened within the Dominion voting machines where it swapped some votes from one side to the other. Mm-hmm. Whether it's intentional, whether it was an actual glitch, I don't know.
That's what needs to be looked into.
That's why you need an investigation. But it's very concerning. It's concerning regardless of whether it was intentional or not, because if you can't trust the methods you're using to vote, because we hadn't used mail-in votes for 20 years now. We went back to it this year because of COVID, whatever. Mm-hmm. But most of them have been using for years the electronic voting machines. And if those can have a problem that big, mm-hmm. whether intentional or unintentional, that is a big problem. Mm-hmm. It's a very big problem.
Something that needs to be addressed.
It needs to be addressed, whether, criminally or just okay, fix your machines.
Right.
Because computers have glitches. How we feel about coincidences around here.
It's a very specific glitch.
Exactly. I don't know. I want faith in the election process. Even though, popular vote still doesn't frickin' matter.
No.
We still need to know. Still needs to be reliable.
Exactly. Like you want to have that faith that the will of the people is reflected.
But, there are people on the left that are just like, no, just accept the results. Just accept the results, because the media and those voting machines are telling them what they want to hear. Just accept the results and move on. We want unity, even though we've been burning stuff down for months now. Mm-hmm. But unify with us while we burn stuff down. Just accept the election results, even though for the last 4 years, the left has been trying everything they could to remove President Trump from office. They now want the opposite to happen when Biden takes office. Even though there's been some shady stuff going on with, a laptop in Ukraine and some actual quid pro quo about $1 billion worth of relief aid, kind of put on, the firing of a particular prosecutor. But, quid pro quo is just having a phone call.
Right.
But that's probably a subject for another episode.
Oh, yeah.
But as always, we're not experts. We're just two guys and a microphone, and we got opinions. We want you to have opinions too, but we want you to have informed opinions. We want to encourage you, and we want to inspire you to look deeper into things. Don't just do the easy thing and plop your fat butt on the couch and turn on the TV to whatever brand of news you happen to subscribe to. Go actually do some research. Get online. Go look up these things. Go find different sources. Usually the truth is somewhere in the middle.
It's where you usually find it.
We just want you to do your own research. Form your own opinions. Trust, but verify.